Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Parul Yadav, and today I'm going to take a session on employment relations and employment laws. So, today we are going to understand what are the various employee relations and how these relations are governed by various laws that are there. So, let's start the session today. First, let's try to understand what exactly is labor relations. See, labor relations, which is commonly known as industrial relations, pose one of the most delicate and complex problems to industrial society. In fact, every organization, every industry strive to have one of the best employee relations as possible, that there should be at least cordial relation between the management and the workers. It is a dynamic concept which is invariably influenced by the pattern of society, socio-economic and political scenario of the country. So this is one of the most crucial aspects of a particular industry where both the parties, whether it is the management or the employer or the worker, that has to work together to achieve or strive for common goals as well as to achieve the common objective that is there. So let's try to understand first that what exactly is industrial relation. So we can say industrial relation is the regulation of a relation between the employers and the employees. It tries to regulate, it tries to maintain, it tries to give a certain pattern to the employer and employee relation so that they understand what exactly needs to be done, so that they know in case there is a conflict, there is a dispute, how to manage the same. At the same time, industrial relations is basically a relation between the management and the worker. It says the relation between labor and management is based on mutual adjustment of interest and goals. It depends upon economic, social, and psychological satisfaction of the parties. Higher satisfaction means healthier is the relation. So it basically looks at the mutual adjustment of interest and goals. So how these goals and interests differ. For the labor, the worker, the interest can be in terms of monetary benefits, economic benefits. It can be in terms of non-monetary benefits as well, working conditions, cordial working environment, giving a lot of career opportunities to the workers or the employees. For the employer, it is more about getting productivity, quality work, production to be on time. There should be commitment, it should be performances there. So that means there should be a mutual adjustment of interest and goals for any relation to work. When we talk about especially the relation between the employer and the employee, the higher the satisfaction is there of both the parties in terms of managing the relation, in terms of getting the benefit they're deriving out of that relation, the healthier that relation will be. More psychological satisfaction will be there, more social satisfaction will be there for both the parties. The parties to industrial relations can be from employer side. So from employer associations are there. There is employees, they have trade unions. Trade unions are the representatives of the employees. Any concern, any issue that an employee might have, that is taken care of by the trade unions as well. So they're the representatives from the employee side. At the same time, to maintain or balance this relation, the government is also one of the parties to the relation. The government, specifically with courts and tribunals, ensure they give the right processes, they provide with the right direction to both the parties in terms of how a healthy relation can exist. And in case there is a dispute that might take place, or a conflict might take place, or a strife might happen between the two parties, then there are certain laws and legislations that ensure they provide with the right kind of remedial action that can be taken, or they provide with the settlement machinery that can be used by both the parties to resolve any kind of conflict. Government also intervenes to a very large extent. Look at specifically that if the employers and employees are there, or the industrial relations are only between them, then sometimes when both the parties are not able to resolve that conflict, they always go to the courts and tribunals to resolve the same. That's why government also is a party to industrial relation. So let's first try to understand in India specifically how this industrial relation started, how exactly the labor relation started in India, and whatever it is today, the kind of image it has today, exactly how the evolution happened. So we all know that industrial relation as a field of study and practice have been in existence since the industrial revolution in UK, since 1920 in the USA. So industrial revolution has played a major part, and it has not even left India untouched. Even India went through that industrial revolution. So because of those industrial revolution, the first cotton factory in India was set up in Bombay in 1853, followed by a jute mill at Calcutta in 1855. Now during that time, because majorly during industrial revolution, what was noticed that there was a lot of labor victimization, exploitation was there. That's where it was observed that most of the act of that time were employer friendly. Like there was Fatal Accident Act of 1855 and Worksman Breach of Contract Act 1857, which was more about serving the interest of the employees only and less about the employer. So under colonial rule, East India Company pursued a policy of deliberate discouragement of industrialization of India, because they looked at India more of a place where they can sell their product and services. So they deliberately decided to discourage industrialization of India, but obviously uh, India was impacted by industrial revolution, and slowly and steadily a lot of industries started coming up in India. There were a lot of mills and factories that started up setting up in India. Because of this, during this time the labor relations were really poor. There was unhygienic working conditions, the wages were not paid to the employees properly, long working hours was there, so major exploitations was seen and victimization of labor was seen. Because of this one particular reason, because of all this that happened, the first strike took place in Express Mill at Nagpur in 1877. So from here we can see that the concern regarding the exploitation of laborers, concern regarding their working conditions started happening during this time, and this was reflected in 1877 when the first strike took place. Obviously, because keeping in view the growing unionism and non-cooperation movement, a few laws, mostly of British pattern, became applicable, like Workmen's Compensation Act came in 1923. There was a Trade Union Act that came in 1926. And the Royal Commission on Labour report in 1929 also resulted in several legislations like the Factory Act 1934 and the Payment of Wages Act 1936. So that's where Payment of Wages Act 1936 came. So legislation, you will observe that most of the laws and legislations were almost near about independence. So it happened before and after post independence, but almost nearby. So there was Industrial Dispute Act 1947, then the Factory Act of 1948, Minimum Wage Act of 1948, and Employee State Insurance Act of 1948. So we could see that how the labor relations started evolving in India, and majorly because of the industrial revolution that happened. And this all was result why there was so much focus on ensuring that there is a certain procedure, there are certain legislations, there are certain laws that should govern these labor relations, because the objective of labor relations and importance of labor relations was to develop, and till today is to maintain and develop a harmonious relation between the management and the labor, to safeguard the interest of the labor as well, to ensure that the management or the employer, if getting performance from the employee, is paying the right and a fair wage to the employee, providing with the right working conditions, ensuring that all the required benefits, all the required facilities are provided to the labor. So, to safeguard the interest of the labor, whether it was a social uh, interest, whether it was economic interest of the labor, to ensure, or a psychological interest of the labor, to ensure that it is safeguarded, it was important to have the right kind of industrial relations and labor relations, and that's where majorly all the laws came up. It was also to establish and maintain industrial democracy, as both the parties are equally involved in getting the production done, or is equally involved in achieving the goals and objective. So there should be an industrial democracy wherein both the parties can come forward, discuss their concern, their views and ideas, and work together, not only for their growth but for the growth of the country as well, to avoid all forms of industrial conflict so as to ensure industrial peace. The conflict can be of any kind. The conflict can be because of the economic factors, it can be because of simple social factor, can be one of the reasons why the industrial conflict can take place. To ensure that none of the conflict takes place, and even if the conflict do take place, and both the parties are not able to resolve it, then the government provides with the machinery, or you can say settlement machinery, to resolve those particular conflicts, to bring about government control over any kind of sick or industrial units, to ensure healthy and balanced social order through recognition of human rights by way of trade unionism. So, wherever possible, trade unions are being used or are being formed. Obviously, it has to be approved by the management also, to recognize the human rights. So, in totality, if we look at the labor laws, and especially the labor relations, it aims at maintaining the social equity between the parties, ensuring international uniformity, and promote the consumer interest. Look at the Manesar conflict that happened at Maruti Suzuki. It was a huge loss to both the parties, specifically loss to Maruti Suzuki and the management also. And the strike was considered as one of the worst that has happened in the Maruti Suzuki history. It not only impacted the labor and the management, it resulted in a loss of human life. So, that kind of conflicts are something that the government, in fact, both the parties should try to avoid, and the government intervene to ensure that it should not result in any kind of further violence, which can impact not only the workers working there and the management but also the consumer. So that's where it's very important to maintain harmonious cordial relations and helping in advance the economic growth of the country. So what happens in case there is a poor industrial relation? So if there's a poor industrial relation, obviously it will result in reduced productivity. The quantity and quality of work will suffer. There will be high labor turnover, absenteeism will increase, lack of industrial discipline will be there, and at the same time, a poor industrial relation will impact the economic growth of the country as well. So that's where the so that's why it is very important to have a right and harmonious cordial relations as well. So I hope you're able to understand that what is labor relations and what are the various objectives of labor relations. In the next session, we are going to understand what are the various human legal framework under which the human resource management functions, and we'll try to look at the various acts that are applicable in the organizations. Thank you.